Welcome to InterPartyConflict, the podcast where we answer your questions so you can have the best tabletop gaming experience possible. My name is Gabe.
And my name is Jeff.
We're going to answer your questions today. But before all that, Jeff.
Yes?
I have an important question.
For me?
I guess, yes, since you're here.
Oh, yeah.
How are you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you, Gabe?
I'm pretty good.
Awesome.
Been pretty busy, as is always the case.
Yeah.
Been doing a lot of home improvement stuff. I just...
Oh, wait.
I just installed a new garbage disposal because our old one was leaking, because everything was leaking for like a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just like to mention Dungeons and Dragons helped me do it.
Really?
See, in order to put in the new disposal, you have to hold it up with one hand and then use your other hand, or preferably two other hands, to like tighten the thing. So I went and I got a bunch of D&D books.
Oh, okay.
I stacked them up, got the perfect height.
So the books helped
Yes.
you? Okay.
All right. It was very, very easy, and it's all thanks to my early edition D&D books that I do not use because
So you use them to hold up a... Good job.
Yeah,
all right.
Thank you. It's pretty good. Also, last week, after we recorded our last episode, we played the Dark Souls board game.
Ooh, yeah, that was fun.
It was a lot of fun. Very, very hard. Took us about 2 hours to learn how to play the game.
And we're still not clear on all the rules yet.
Yeah.
We'll have to reread it and check online or something, because there was a couple little things that we weren't quite familiar with.
Yeah, but I think it's really, really cool. I would definitely like to play more of it.
Yeah.
And remember that although we focus mostly on Dungeons and Dragons, because that's the most popular role-playing game and it's what most of our questions are. It's also what most of our experience is with. We are just a tabletop gaming podcast. So in theory, people could send us questions about board games, about the Dark Souls board game.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyway, so I think that's really cool. And I'll definitely, whenever I get a game going again, I'm definitely going to use those minis.
Oh, yeah, the miniatures are they're really nice.
They're so good. They're so really detailed. Good. Yeah.
Pretty cool.
So, Jeff.
Uh-huh.
I want you to roll a diplomacy check.
Oh, I
got some D20s there in front of you.
Yep. I got a 7.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, no. It's all right. It's all right. Okay. So you have been hired by a local farmer to go and kill some monsters that have been terrorizing his land.
Sure.
So you went and you did so. It turns out that his land includes a cave, and then there were some monsters in the cave, and you killed the monsters, blah, 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 whatever. Turns out that the farmer is not actually a farmer.
Uh-oh.
He's actually a gold dragon in disguise.
Oh, I should have known the whiskers.
Exactly. So the whiskers, the fact that he was 40 feet tall, the gold frills along his back, some of those should have clued you in. But he reveals himself to you, and then he says, thank you for, getting all of these monsters off my land. This is where I was hoping to start a new horde. So because you have helped me, I will allow you to take one item from my horde. You tried to diplomatize him so he would give you a second one, but it did not. However, you are still getting a piece of treasure from the dragon's horde. Yay! And actually, let's retcon this a little bit and say you rolled higher, because let's say he's giving you 2 items. Because guess what, listeners? You're getting 2 items for the price of 1.
Sure.
Whatever money you paid for this episode, you got scammed, because this episode is free. But we have 2 items for this episode. Last episode, we talked about the Sword of Kos, which is a very cool artifact that is a big favorite of mine.
Yeah.
This episode, I figured I would bring in the Hand and Eye of Vecna, which I think pair pretty well up with the Sword of Kos.
Right.
So we'll go over those, so you'll know all about the whole trifecta of these items. Whatever, you can do whatever you want with them. Sure. All right, so these are from the 5th edition Dungeon Master's Guide. As I said last time, the different editions deal with these a little bit differently, but we'll be using the 5th edition one. I think it's pretty good.
They mostly keep the mechanics similar, but...
Pretty much, yeah. All right, so the backstory of this item, I won't really read the whole thing that's in the Dungeon Master's Guide, but I mentioned before that there is the Archlich Vecna, who was a human, I think, who eventually became a lich, and then he eventually ascended to divinity, and he became the god of secrets and undeath. He's a very evil deity, and he's got lots of evil followers. His lieutenant Kas, the vampire, eventually killed him. Tried to kill Vecna. He took the sword that Vecna made for him. He cut off Vecna's hand, cut out Vecna's eye, and then the two of them destroyed each other. Yeah. Vecna still lives on in some form because he's a deity, for crying out loud. Mm-hmm. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think there was some in like 3rd edition in the Magic of Incarnum book. I think there was some way that you could get power from Kas. I think Kas has a place in the D&D cosmology as well. Anyway, this isn't about him, though. Okay. This is about the hand and eye of Vecna. So, you might find these items together. You might find them separately. But they are 2 very powerful artifacts. They are the actual hand that belonged to Vecna, that was attached to Vecna's arm, and the actual eye that was in Vecna's head. I want to say it's the right eye. I could be wrong. Does it say in here? Hang on. Okay.
We'll say it's the right.
I guess. Yeah, so it is the left hand, and let's say it's the right eye. But to attune to either of these artifacts, you have to remove the corresponding part of your own body. So in order to attune yourself to the eye of Vecna, you have to either cut out your own eye or already be missing an eye.
Sure.
In order to...
That's a good point. Yeah, you might already be missing your eye.
Exactly. In order to attune yourself to the hand of Vecna, you have to cut off your left hand or already be missing a left hand and hold it to the stump.
So this is the perfect gift for a pirate.
Yar. So here's a little sidetrack here. What's a pirate's favorite letter?
Is it R?
You'd think so. But in truth, it's the C. I didn't make that up. Just saying. My brother Ted, one of his friends from high school, I'm friends with him on Facebook, and I think for a while he was like, one of his jobs was he was a pirate on like some kid's pirate trip thing. So like he would post all these videos of him like telling jokes to kids and stuff as a pirate.
Sure.
I don't know. So I said, you attune yourself to either of these items. If after you are attuned to either of them, if it is ever disconnected from your body for any reason, you die. If you attach the hand of Vecna to your left arm and your arm gets cut off, you're dead. If you attach the eye of Vecna and then your head gets cut off, you're dead.
What? Yes.
Yes. If the eye ever, comes out of your head for any reason, which is why last week I was a little unsure of how a DM would roll that warlock ability, where you voluntarily detach your body parts. So I don't know. But because of how 5th edition deals with artifacts, both of these artifacts have a bunch of random properties. I won't really get into those, but I'll tell you guys about what the Eye of Vecna does. The Eye of Vecna, when you put it in your head, instantly changes your alignment to neutral evil. So that's one thing. Because Vecna is neutral evil.
Okay.
So the eye, maybe because of its I was gonna say maybe because of its proximity to your brain, but the hand does the same thing. So I don't know. But in addition to that, you have true sight, which means you can see through darkness, magical darkness. You can see invisible things. You can see through illusions. Very, very powerful ability.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can use an action to see as if you were wearing a ring of X-ray vision. You can end this as a bonus action. So you can see through objects. You can see through like up to, a foot of stone or something, a thin sheet of lead. So you can see through certain objects.
Very cool.
So you can see through people's clothes. I'm sure that's what Vecna's concerned about.
Right, yeah, that's what he was up to.
Yeah, that's why
he was so evil, because he was sneaking.
And the hand, oh my goodness, the hand, the eye of Vecna, that's the eye he was looking through the peephole with.
then it got poked out. Like
exactly.
Kas was on the other side of the door.
Exactly. Now, of course, you may be wondering, well, why was he looking through the peephole when he explicitly has the ability to look through solid objects? The wall was made of lead, people, okay?
Obviously.
It just was.
Obviously.
All right. But in addition to that, the eye has 8 charges. You can use an action and expend 1 or more charges to cast one of the following spells. Clairvoyance, which lets you see something remotely.
Sure.
Crown of Madness, which we'll get back to you on that one. Disintegrate. So you shoot a green ray of disintegration from your eye.
Nice.
It's kind of cool. Clairvoyance is 2 charges. Crown of Madness is 1 charge. Disintegrate's 4 charges. Dominate Monster is 5 charges.
Nice, cool.
That's pretty good. Or Eye Bite, 4 charges, which I think it deals damage and then causes you to be invisible to the target.
Oh.
So it's like you hit them with a magical effect that makes it so they can't see you.
That's cool.
I think that's pretty cool. And then the eye regains 1d4 plus 4 expended charges daily at dawn. That's pretty good. Each time you cast a spell from the eye, there is a 5% chance that Vecna tears your soul from your body, devours it, and then takes control of your body like a puppet.
Oh, good.
If that happens, you become an NPC under the DM's control.
Very good. Awesome.
Yeah. All right, cool. Yeah, I'll bet you'll get a lot of use out of that.
Yeah.
Players, yeah. Good job.
That's every time you cast a spell?
Yeah.
Every time when you use one of those
Every
charts?
time you cast a spell from the eye.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you could, I mean, at the very least, you could still be using the True Sight abilities and stuff like that.
I guess that's true, yeah.
Like, those are more of like a passive bonus, but great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Gosh. All right, well, let's move on to the next one, the Hand of Vecna.
Okay.
Your alignment changes to neutral evil. If you already have the eye, it becomes super neutral evil. It becomes neutral, evil. And you gain the following benefits. Your strength score becomes 20, unless it was already 20 or higher.
Oh.
So that's kind of cool. Yeah. Any spell attack you make with the hand and any melee weapon attack made with the weapon held by it deals an extra 2d8 cold damage on a hit. So your hand is just so cold and dark and whatever.
And undeady.
Undeady, exactly. And the hand has 8 charges. You can use an action and expend 1 or more charges to cast the following spells. Finger of Death, 5 charges. So you just kill the target. I mean, it's in 5th edition. I think it can do damage or something, whatever. Sleep, 1 charge. Simple thing. Slow, 2 charges. Or Teleport, 3 charges.
Huh.
Hand regains 1d4 plus 1d4 plus 4 expended charges at dawn. Each time you cast a spell from the hand, it casts the suggestion spell on you.
Oh.
Demanding that you commit an evil act.
Huh.
The hand might have a specific act in mind or leave it up to you.
Huh.
So I think that's a little bit better than Vecna tears and eats your soul.
I feel like that's that's a big difference.
Big difference, yeah.
And I mean, like, as far as power goes, I guess the eye is got more. It has a lot more power to it, but
possibly, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like
they're both good at different things.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I mean, like, True Sight alone is really good. Really good.
It's pretty good. I mean, if you're a high level wizard, which I figure wizard or cleric or something, I figure you probably will be if you're worshiping Vecna. Your strength probably isn't going to be your strong point.
Sure.
Sorry.
Gabe made a face.
Yes, I did. I was moving my eyes back and forth.
But I mean, like, if you're a spellcaster and you got the bonus strength, I mean, that's not really gonna do much for you.
It's probably not. If your strength isn't already 20, you're probably not focusing on strength.
Right. So, I mean, I guess it might help with, like, touch spells or something like that.
Maybe. I don't think any. I think touch spells all just go off of your spellcasting stat.
Oh, okay.
In 5th edition.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and in 3rd edition, it was all based on, like, if you had to be strong in order to be accurate with your touch spells, which is kind of goofy. Anyway, so those are the different abilities about the eye and the hand. But if you have both, they get additional abilities.
Cool.
If you are tuned to both the hand and eye,
you get like a set bonus.
The following exactly. You are immune to disease and poison.
Nice.
So you're kind of a little bit undead.
Sure.
Kind of.
Sure. Well, I mean, you technically are part undead at that point because you have undead parts.
I guess, yes. Using the eye's X-ray vision never causes you to suffer exhaustion.
Does it?
Hang on a minute. Maybe it does. Sorry, I need to flip through this book.
Okay.
This is some good podcasting right here. Oh, okay, yeah, sorry. If you use the Ring of X-ray vision, basically more than once per long rest, you have to make a save or gain a level of exhaustion.
Okay.
So that's weird.
That's
I don't
interesting.
know. Anyway, but it doesn't do that anymore.
Oh.
Okay.
Neat.
You experience premonitions of danger, and unless you are incapacitated, can't be surprised.
Ooh.
So, like, if there's ever a surprise round, you act in it.
Nice.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I think that's an interesting counterpoint to the Sword of Kos, which gives you, like, a huge bonus on your initiative.
Sure. Okay.
If you start your turn with at least 1 hit point, you regain 1d10 hit points.
Huh.
So as long as you're not unconscious, like, you get kind of regeneration.
Sure. That's awesome.
Yeah. If a creature has a skeleton, you can attempt to turn its bones to jelly with a touch of the hand of Vecna. You can do so by using an action to make a melee attack against a creature you can reach, using your choice of your melee attack bonus or weapons or spells. On a hit, your target must succeed on a DC 18 Constitution saving throw or drop to 0 hit points.
Wow.
That's something right there.
Yeah. That reminds me of the Prestige class. It was in the Dragon Compendium. It's the Osteomancer.
Ooh,
I think that's what it was called. But it was
probably.
But yeah, he like it was this. It was a. I think they were I'm pretty sure they were a caster, but they specialized in controlling their own skeletal structure or something like that. And there was a point where they basically were like immune to the effects of a bone ooze or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Where they could survive without their bone structure and also regrow it back as a full round action.
I wish I had no bones.
Yes. I'm going to break all your bones. I wish I had no bones.
And then the final one is you can use an action to cast Wish. This property can't be used again until 30 days have passed.
Oh.
So we mentioned...
Once a month you get a wish?
Pretty much, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, and we mentioned in the previous episode that if you want to destroy the Sword of Kos, you have to get both the Hand and Eye of Vecna and use this particular Wish spell to destroy it.
That's pretty cool. And I really Wish is powerful, obviously, but
very powerful.
I like that it's like it's once a month, like, because that's a big enough time where you really have to really have to think hard about if you want to use it.
Yeah,
because by the time you can use it again, you might be dead.
There was a Mad TV sketch a long time ago where this guy, it was Phil Lamar, he played this guy who had superpowers. And
I think I remember
he was sitting on his couch watching TV, and somebody comes in and they're like, let's say his name was like Turbo Man or something. I know that's the guy from Jingle All the Way, but whatever. He's sitting on his couch and somebody runs into his apartment and they're like, Turbo Man, there's a bus with 30 kids on it. It's about to go over a bridge. You have to go save them. And he's like, okay, whoa, hold on a second. Let me tell you a little bit. I was given my powers by a magic genie and I was able to use my powers 3 times. 3 times ever. I used my first power because the bar was about to close and me and my buddies were drinking and we were all drunk and we really wanted to get one more drink. So I used my powers to turn back time 30 minutes so we could all get another round. I regretted it the next morning. Okay. I used my powers the second time because my girlfriend had been killed in a car accident. And so I used my power to bring her back to life. And then she broke up with me a month later. So I regret that. I only have my powers one more time. You say that there's a bus with 30 kids on it. What if tomorrow there's a bus with 300 kids on it? And then the guy's like, that couldn't happen. It doesn't matter. My point is I can't use my power the last time because then I'll never have it again and I'll never be able to use it for whatever I need it for in the future. They're like, oh, okay, well, I guess you're not much of a hero. See you later. And they leave. And then so he's sitting there and he's like, dang it, where did I put the remote? And then he snaps his fingers and the TV changes channel. Then he goes, dang it. I'll see if I can find that sketch, even though I just described the entire thing to you.
Sure.
I'll see if I can find that.
I do remember that one, though. He's just like sitting in an apartment. Yeah.
Yeah. So you with something as powerful as Wish, I feel like you would probably be very hesitant to use it because then you wouldn't be able to use it. You might need it for something even worse tomorrow.
Right. Yeah.
Then again, you're running into tea and cakes check territory.
Sure.
If you die with the ability unused, maybe you deserve to die.
Right, yeah.
As Chris would say. Not Tennessee Chris.
Tennessee Chris.
But other Chris. Real Chris. I'll call him Real Chris.
So Tennessee Chris isn't real?
Well, for all you know, maybe he's a figment of my imagination. Maybe you're a figment of my imagination, Jeff. Maybe you, the listener, aren't actually listening to a podcast right now.
Maybe this is all a figment of your imagination. Mind explosivo.
So one thing that this makes me wonder, though, is using this wish spell, does that count as one of the things that makes Vecna possibly tear out your soul and eat it?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I mean,
it's casting a spell with the eye.
I guess so, but it's like it seems to be describing it as. It seemed to describe that as like when you're using one of those charges. I feel like because it was in that part of the description.
It is in that part of the description, maybe.
I think it's only when you're like using up the charges to do that thing. But I mean, you are also, using a wish spell, so there should be some consequences.
Yeah, wish. See, that's what I'm never sure about, because wish has some pretty hefty consequences in this
by
edition.
itself. Yeah,
there's a chance that you'll never be able to cast spells again.
Right. Oh my god, I forgot about that in 5th edition. Yeah.
So my question is, does that count if you are not actually casting it if you're using it from an item?
Ooh, that's good.
I don't know. I mean, I would be inclined to say no, but who knows?
Maybe it could be like that item is no longer magical, and at that point you die immediately because it's the hand.
Oh goodness, that would be awful. Or you're just stuck with a lifeless hand, and you can't cut it off,
and an eye that you can't see out of it.
Exactly.
Like yeah, right. Yeah, and if you cut it off, you still die if you cut it off.
Yeah,
or maybe. Well,
I don't know. Let me just read one more thing, then I have some more thoughts about these abilities. So we already kind of covered this last time, but in order to destroy the hand and eye of Vecna, if the eye of Vecna and the hand of Vecna are both attached to the same creature, and that creature is slain by the sword of Kas, both the eye and the hand burst into flame, turn to ash, and are destroyed forever. Any other attempt to destroy the eye or hand seems to work, but the artifact reappears in one of Vecna's many hidden vaults, where it waits to be rediscovered.
Ooh,
so I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now, something that this definitely brings to mind, especially the fact that the eye has a disintegrate spell. This makes me think of another eye that has a disintegrate effect.
Oh.
In the sci-fi miniseries The Lost Room.
Oh.
I don't remember if we've ever covered that on the podcast before.
No, I don't know what we talked about.
It is if anybody has not seen it, which is probably all of you.
Well, I mean,
you should go to Amazon or something. I'll put in the show notes. I'll put a link directly to buying it because it is so good.
It is really good.
It was like a 5-hour miniseries. It was a 3-part miniseries on the Sci-Fi Channel, like 12 years ago or something. And has Peter Krause in it, has Elle Fanning in it, has some other people. It's got some really good people in it. Juliana Margulies is in it. Anyway, it's very, 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 very good. I'm hesitant to say anything about it because the less you know about it, the better. But basically, it's about this cop who gets caught up in this war between these various factions. Like modern day, he gets caught up in this war between these two secret factions that are fighting over these seemingly normal objects. These just everyday objects, but some of them have like physics bending superpowers.
Yeah.
One of which is an eye. It's a glass eye that if you cut out your own eye and put that glass eye in your head, you can use it to like basically destroy or repair all flesh is what its ability is said to be. But it's really, really cool. Yeah. This guy gets caught up in this war between these factions about these objects, and it's so good.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Yes. When my wife, Lisa, doesn't really usually like watching movies or anything that's more than 30 minutes at a time, but we started watching The Lost Room a bunch of years ago. We started watching it. By the time we got to the end of the first episode, she was like, okay, we're staying up for the next 5 hours. We got to watch this whole thing.
It's a great binge too.
It is very, very good.
Because 5 hours isn't crazy.
No.
And I've watched the entirety of the Lord of the Rings trilogy in one sitting. And
exactly.
And
I say my wife doesn't like watching things that are more than half an hour. I mean, if an individual episode is more than half an hour, it's not the fact that she's sitting there for multiple hours. She'll do that all the time. Like she'll put on 10 episodes of Bob's Burgers all in a row.
Sure.
But just the commitment of knowing, okay, I gotta sit here for the whole time. Not, knowing that she can't just get up and walk away. That's what makes her not want to. So The Lost Room, it is so good. I very much recommend you watch it.
Yeah.
Just one tip: if you buy the DVD, don't hit play all. Play all does not play all. Play all plays the trailers. I don't know why. Because I've let several people borrow the DVDs. I think I even bought like an extra copy at one point just to pass around. And every single person I have to tell them, don't hit play all because it doesn't play all. It just plays the trailers again.
It's so weird.
It is so weird.
That reminds me of Aqua Teen Hunger Force, like some of their DVDs, some of the DVDs, it's like if you hit play all, instead of playing them all in order, it plays them all at the same time.
Yes.
Although if you do that and you pay attention, because one time I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna watch all these episodes all at once and just to see what comes of it.
Yeah.
It's interesting because there's a moment in every episode where there's a big explosion and it all happens around the same time.
Yeah.
So like you're just watching it and it's like it's a mess. You can't hear anything that's going on. There's just constant noise and like everybody's talking over everybody. It's just like this is just ridiculous. But then I get to a part in the episode where there's an explosion and then there's another explosion and it's just like every screen is exploding around the same time. And
That's really cool.
That was good.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that'll do it for the Dragon's Hoard. If anybody wants to submit Dragon's Hoard items, or if they'd like to submit questions for us to discuss, Jeff, how would they do so?
Well, they could probably do that by sending us an email at InterPartyConflict@gmail.com.
Cool.
Okay. Our first question comes from Jason through email. Jason says he's looking to DM his first game using the 5th edition starter campaign. The starter campaign comes with 5 pre-made characters. Are these usually worthwhile, or should he just let people make characters on their own?
I think that if it's your first group and if your players are new players, you should absolutely use the pre-made characters. Mm-hmm. Just within the last week, I had a couple coworkers over and I introduced them to the game. I had them make characters. I played just a short little, intro thing with them. And that especially put this into perspective. When a new player is learning the game, there is so much to take in.
Yeah.
Some parts of character creation, I'll just put it right here. Backgrounds. In 5th edition, backgrounds, I think are at the same time my favorite part of character creation because I love the idea that they're there. I love how choosing your background gives you like proficiencies. It gives you like a special non-mechanical ability, like a special role-playing ability.
Sure.
I love how it even gives you options for character traits and such, like personality traits. I think that's so cool.
Yeah.
That being said, when teaching a new person to play the game, I think it is the worst part of character creation because you are making someone choose something that they do not know the impact of. They don't know which one is going to be good for them. You might have, a unicorn and they might have a great idea of what type of a character they want to play.
Okay.
But most players are, if they have never played a game like D&D before, they're not going to know what kind of character they're going to want to play. You'll have to go through the entire list and be like, okay, here's this one. Here's what it does. Here's this next one. Here's what it does. Here's this next one. Here's what it does.
Yeah.
It's a lot to take in. And if you give too little description of any of them, they're not going to be able to make an informed decision. So they're literally just going to be picking one at random.
Sure.
So then it wasn't really worth telling them anything about it. Or if you explain it too much, they're also not going to be able to make an informed decision because there's so much contextless information that you're giving them.
Yeah, it's a little overwhelming.
Exactly. Like I put that part off until after the players had picked their races and their classes.
That's a good idea.
And even then, like I kind of, the whole time I was like, oh man, there's no way they're retaining all this information, but I have to give them the information. Otherwise it's pointless for me to even having them pick one.
Right.
So it's very frustrating to have too much information.
Sure.
Yeah. So like with something like backgrounds, it's such a cool part of the character creation process, but for a new player, I don't see a new player making an informed decision when it comes to that, or at least in most circumstances. So I think you should very much use pre-made characters whenever possible.
Sure.
Even if it's just a matter of you just want to get them into the game so they can see what the game is actually like.
Yeah.
Use pre-made characters, then they can get into that.
And if this is just a case that like the DM himself is just new, then the players aren't necessarily new players, but starting a new campaign, it'll be easier for like you'll be able to familiarize yourself with those pre-made characters, know exactly what their abilities are and how they were going to interact in the adventure. The adventure itself, might be built around the idea that there are these specific characters. Like there might be, certain amount of traps that are in the adventure, and there's a rogue available in the pre-made ones that has like a find trap, ability or something.
Yeah.
So it'll make it easier for the DM to be able to, know what the players are capable of.
Right. And even if you're not, even if your group doesn't have like any min-maxers or power gamers or whatever, like you're always running the risk of somebody picking some combination that's like, whoa, that's really, really powerful, or I don't know how to adjudicate this. With pre-made characters, especially if they're made, like you said, specifically for that adventure, then I think you don't run the risk of that. I think that's a much better option because, like you said, you know exactly what's there. You're not going to have an ability come up in game that you did not. There was no way for you to know would be there.
It's more likely it's going to be balanced that way.
Yeah,
and I mean, an inexperienced player can usually find a way to make a pre-made character their own.
Exactly. Definitely.
Whether just through the story, just through the role playing and story itself, or they might talk to you, be like, hey, do you mind if I change this to this? Or he's using this weapon, I'd rather use this weapon instead.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Like little changes aren't that hard to make on a pre-made character.
Sure. I could definitely see some players not liking the fact that they can't make whatever character that they want. I mean, I think that's the player's problem. I think that if you're just upfront right at the beginning, like we're going to be using these pre-made characters, then, that's up to them to get used to it however you want. Like you said, they can make small changes to make that character unique.
Yeah.
I personally kind of like it when I do have like some of the things are set in stone. I think I would like to play a character where I randomly rolled for personality traits.
Yeah. I kind of like that stuff too. Like you get that sort of thing in like, the roguelike games that we've been playing lately where you just kind of, you get something about it's random and you just kind of have to like build around that.
Yeah.
Like every time you respawn or whatever, something's a little bit different. You kind of have to figure out how to use that to your advantage.
Sure.
That's some fun.
Yeah. I'm definitely the kind of person that like when there's too many options, I don't know what to do.
Sure. If
somebody's just like, okay, make up a character concept, make up a character personality. I don't know. He's friendly, I guess. But if I was assigned, okay, here's what your character, or even if it was just like pick from these 6 characters, I keep wanting to say character traits, these 6 personality traits. I mean, I have so much easier of a time doing that than if I had to just come up with it on my own. So as a result, I would prefer most of the time being given a character and then tweak it, according to what I want. Now, of course, there's definitely times where I would rather make a character. But if someone said, hey, I'm going to be running this adventure, we're going to be using the pre-made characters, I would be all for that.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never had any issues using pre-made characters.
Yeah.
We've had some fun with pre-made characters.
Yes, we have.
I can't remember. I think it was like,
I think you're thinking
D&D
of
miniatures.
D&D miniatures. Back when D&D miniatures was a game.
Yes.
There was some big release that I think Jay bought, and then like he gave each of us pre-made characters that I think like they were D&D miniatures characters that were made in D&D stats.
Sure.
And then Jay gave each of them to us, and then we ran a couple encounters or something. And I remember Steve did something absolutely hilarious. He was playing Voltram the Archmage.
Right.
And so he was playing him as like every time he would cast a spell, his character would say that he was casting that spell, and his character would say how much damage it was doing.
Sure.
So he would be like, Voltram the Archmage is casting Fireball and dealing 8d6 points of damage. And it's like, that was all said in character.
Sure, yeah.
He referred to himself in third person.
Yes.
And then talked about points of damage within the fantasy world.
Yeah.
And then I think Voltram died at one point, and then
his
Voltram's cousin popped in and was like, Voltram, no!
Right, yeah. Yeah, he just picked up one of the other sheets and started playing as a different character.
The other sheet was a different race, yet that was somehow his cousin.
It's like, I am Voltram's cousin. Voltram, no! Yes. Oh my goodness.
Oh, that was good.
So I mean, like, and he had a pre-made character, kind of took it in a direction he thought was entertaining and just kind of went with it. So,
and another thing about Steve, I could be wrong, but I feel like Steve is one of the people that does kind of hit that like optional paralysis, I think it's called, where like if he has too many options, he has difficulty. And when we did our at the library, we did that. We played D&D. I gave that a little intro to D&D, which I may be releasing as a bonus episode sometime if we need if we're not able to record one week.
Sure.
Steve had, I did pre-made characters for that just to save time because there was no way I was going to fit in character creation and a game in 1 hour of time.
Right.
Steve picked one of the characters there, and I think he did a great job with what was written on the page, with like the personality traits and then the abilities and everything. So, whereas I think if he made the character himself, he might not have done that.
Sure. Yeah, I do like the traits and everything with the 5th edition, because it really does put like a nice little like building block of like what the character is. So like, because I think the character I played was just like a war. Like an old war hero kind of guy or something like that. It's like, okay, I could work with that. I could figure something else, figure something to do with him with that one. When like, if I'm left alone to create a character by myself, I usually end up creating something that's like, that doesn't quite fit in the world too well. Or like I'm trying.
Warforged. Hey, sorry. No, I have a cough. I've been talking a lot today.
Well, I was more thinking of, that ranger character I made at the beginning of the Age of Worms campaign, like.
But yes.
And it's like I was like, because like I'm always trying to make like these like cool character stories, and then I just don't know where to go with them. Cause,
I know what you mean.
You know, they're very one dimensional. You know, because I'm not super great at writing characters.
Sure.
So I mean, like having these like a couple traits to go off of, I can be like, okay, these work together. I can figure something out. I can make this fun. I can actually turn this into a nice like a breathing character. You know.
Yeah, and when I did make all those characters for the D&D thing, I made pretty much all of it randomly. Like what I did was I had all the races listed, then I had all the classes listed. So I would pick a race, then I would roll to determine which class it was going to be. So all of the race class combinations were 100% random.
Sure.
Or maybe not 100% because I didn't want to use any races twice until after they'd all been used once. So like
Gotcha.
I would like cross them off after I'd used one. But, and then when it came to backgrounds, I did tailor the backgrounds. Like I did put, okay, I think this would be an interesting fit with this race and class.
Yeah.
And so on. But when it came to the personality traits, the ideals, the bonds, the flaws, with those, I did roll randomly. And I think almost every single one of them turned out really cool. Like almost every single one of those is a character that I would want to play. Because it's like, oh, well, it says here that he doesn't trust anybody else, but he trusts those that are really close to him. And I think there's a really cool way to, to make those both work together. Mm-hmm. Even ones that seemed like they conflicted. Yeah. I think that could make for an interesting character. So I really like the idea of being given character, personality traits. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I guess, so the point I'm trying to get is that I definitely think that, especially if it is your first campaign and or your group's first campaign, you should use pre-made characters.
Yes.
Once you're more familiar with the game, if you want to make custom characters, go ahead and do it. But starting out, definitely use pre-made characters just to get more familiar with the game. Because otherwise it's just so much that you have to learn right up front.
Yeah. It's very daunting.
Yeah.
Way too many options to be starting off with.
Sure.
So our next question comes from Ralil. This is from nworld.org. How important is session 0 for a campaign?
Now this kind of goes with the last question. Session 0, for anybody who is not familiar with the term, session 0 is the session that takes place before the actual D&D adventure begins.
Sure.
So like if you're starting a new group, you might have a session where you get all the players together. You discuss what race and classes everybody's going to be. Mm-hmm. You discuss what the campaign is, what the focus is going to be. Maybe you lay down some house rules.
Yeah.
If everybody doesn't know each other, maybe you introduce everybody to each other. Session 0, in general, I would say it's very important.
Yeah.
I can definitely think of some situations where it would not be so important, but most of the time I would say, yes, it's very important.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, I would say sometimes when it's not important. Maybe if the DM is experienced and none of the players have ever played the game before, maybe, and let's say you're using pre-made characters, maybe it would be better to skip the session 0 because the players aren't necessarily going to be picking any of their class features or anything.
Sure.
You may just want to just get them into the game so that they can just experience the game.
Yeah, learn by doing.
Exactly. So that is probably one situation where it would not be very important. Another one might be kind of the opposite. If everybody is really, really familiar with the game.
Sure.
If everybody already knows what kind of character they want to play, and maybe if the campaign is going to be very free form, maybe you don't need a session 0. Maybe the DM just has like one adventure he's going to throw them at in the beginning, and then everything else will just be off the cuff.
Right, and they might take their own, their own time to make their characters and things like that.
Exactly, yeah.
It's not necessary to get everybody together.
Because I know there have been many times where like I've already had a character made before the campaign even started.
Yeah, like with the character maker and stuff for 4th edition. Like, I like just making characters and that and then like so I just have this like. Actually, I went through a bunch of my old stuff the other day, and I found a bunch of character sheets.
Ooh, cool!
And like some of which were used, and some of which I never used. I made for a campaign that we were either going to start, or like or for the potential of a campaign I made. So like I have a pile of characters that I can either use again in some other form, or use one that I've never used before.
Yeah, it's kind of sad, but I feel like so many of our campaigns never made it past session 0.
Yeah.
Back like when we were all just out of high school, we would hang out in Jay's basement, play video games, eat pizza or Taco Bell or whatever. And then like, we'd be like, oh, hey guys, let's make some new characters. Let's start a campaign next week. And then like, so we would make characters. We would all have really cool ideas. Yours wouldn't have a name. And then we would,
yes. I was really bad at deciding on a name for
it's
my
fine.
character.
But then by the time
better.
By the time the next week, yes, when we did our D&D thing at the library, you came up with a name like right off the bat.
Yeah, I mean it was a canned name. Like I haven't like one of the reasons I picked that character was because I knew I had a name for it.
Okay,
but anyway,
but yeah, so we would make characters, and then like by the time the next week came around, whatever enthusiasm we had for whatever it was we were going to do was gone, so we wouldn't actually start.
Yeah, I do remember one in particular where we wanted to do a all wizards campaign.
Oh, that was going to be so cool.
We were each going to like pick a couple like specializations or something like that.
Yeah. I think it was a Gestalt campaign.
Yes, we were doing a Gestalt.
And no, hold on. It was 100% like we did not choose this ahead of time. Each of us was going to make a character, a Gestalt character, and it turned out every one of us had chosen a different specialist wizard as one of our classes. I think Jay had made an enchanter beguiler. Steve had made an illusionist something or other. You had made a transmuter
conjurer
artificer?
Yeah, I think that might have been it. Yes, that sounds right.
I had made what was mine? It was like a necromancer something or other. I probably have the character sheet probably within arm's reach somewhere. Maybe. But yeah, so we had completely independent of each other. We had all made different specialist wizards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, yeah, there are plenty of plenty of times where session 0 is the only session.
Yeah, which is kind of a shame, but
I mean, they're still fun. They're still a fun time to hang out and everything like that, and like come up with ideas and all that.
Yeah. On the 5th edition Facebook group, people all the time are asking, does anybody else just make characters for fun? Yes, absolutely. Yes. Everybody makes characters for fun because it's so much fun.
I've said it before that it's one of I want to say it's probably my favorite part of the game. Not to downplay the rest of the game. I love that too. But like, if I had to pick a section of the game to pick as my favorite, it'd be creating a character. Yeah. When it's like, it's all the possibilities and like trying to think ahead of like what would be the best way to build this character. And then like you get like halfway through the campaign and realize it's like that was not the right way to go. Maybe I should start focusing on this. So like, you never really know for sure how it's going to turn out in the end or what items you come across and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you always metagaming your character build. I mean, everybody does it because
everybody does it
because like you want your character to be a specific way, and it might not always turn out that way, and it depends. Depends on the group and everything.
Yeah, people try to look down upon people who like, I don't know, like you said, metagame your character. But I mean, making your character and then planning out your character, that's a huge investment. Like if you pick something quote unquote wrong at the beginning, there isn't really a wrong, but if you get 15 levels in and you realize, oh crap, I could have had this other thing that I really want if I'd put a little bit of work in at the beginning, then, if that's what you're going to be getting fun out of, then there's no reason anybody should look down upon that.
Sure.
Yeah, so I think session 0, for the most part, is very important, except maybe in certain very specific situations.
Yeah, and that's not to say that like you shouldn't do it in those situations. It's just not as necessary.
Exactly. It just I don't think there would be an appreciable difference if you didn't do it.
Right. And like you said, it's a good time for like introductions and stuff in case there's new people or people you don't know very well, or it's just a good time to hang out.
Yeah, absolutely. D&D it's a social game.
Yes.
So if you need if you have an excuse to get all your friends together and hang out, take advantage of it.
Exactly. All right, our next question comes from Zeus and his beard. This is through Reddit. What are some of your favorite movie or video game plots that you have stolen and made your own in a homebrew campaign?
I've only actually used a couple.
Sure.
One of which I made a D&D adventure out of Jack and the Beanstalk. Which I think I think it went pretty well, I guess. Pretty simple. Another one.
Yeah, it would fit, I think.
Yeah.
I think pretty well.
Yeah, I had the characters like fight air elementals up in the clouds and then fight a giant or something. I don't remember. Sure. It's Jack and the Beanstalk. But another one that I did, I kind of alluded to this in a previous episode. I was running a campaign where we switched up DMs. I was the first DM, and I introduced my character through an adventure that I was running that was based heavily upon the Chronicles of Narnia book, The Magician's Nephew.
Mm-hmm.
So in The Magician's Nephew, there's the characters, like, they fashion they find these magic rings basically that take them to this like alternate dimension where the entire world is dead. They're in this giant city. Every plant is dead. There are no people anywhere. They eventually find a statue of a woman that they like speak some magic words that are inscribed by her, and she comes to life. And then like she turns out to be a bad guy. They escape, but like she chases them. She follows them and then follows them eventually to the world of Narnia, which is what the Chronicles of Narnia revolve around. Then this is a prequel to The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, in which she is the villain.
Oh, so she's the like the ice
she's
queen?
The White Queen, I think, yeah. And so in the adventure I was running, I had the players similarly go to another dimension. They were in a world, she was still there. She was still the bad guy, but my character was her brother the story behind her in The Magician's Nephew is that she was a ruler of this planet that was like very, very magically advanced. And there was some sort of a power struggle between her and like her sister or something in the book. Then I think in order to gain power, she had found this word of ultimate destruction. If anyone uttered this word, it would kill all life on the planet. And so in order to keep herself in power, she basically had the threat of, I could say this word at any time. At some point it happened. She said the word, killed everybody. It didn't kill her. It just like turned her to stone or something, or maybe it killed everybody but her, and then she turned herself into stone. I don't really remember. But in the game I was running, my character was her brother who like was warring against her, and she eventually uttered this word. My character was protected against it because of like a very powerful amulet that he had, which it lost its power by protecting him. So when the characters, they found a statue of him, they also found a statue of her. They read the words or whatever that restored her. It also restored him. So he was able to escape with the players, and then he became one of the party members. And then eventually I was going to have her show up again and so on and so on. But
sure,
here's what I did. He was a warlock. He was a warlock barbarian. And we had each been given a free major bloodline from 3rd edition Unearthed Arcana, if you remember those. And he had the Titan bloodline. So he was really, really big.
Sure.
He was perfect proportions, but he was like 9 feet tall. And he was like picturesque in every way. So like I even decided like he was physically unable to scar. If he cut himself, it would always heal perfectly. As a result, he couldn't make use of any magic items that were earrings because they would just like force themselves out. Anyway, but because he was a warlock, I took all of the warlock abilities that were word based.
Oh yeah.
So
okay.
like there were certain ones where like there was one where like you could say a word that would like shatter an object. So
cool.
That seemed like a perfect ability for him to take because in the Magician's Nephew, the great power that undid everything was a word that was spoken.
That's pretty cool.
So, anyway, yeah. So I based that adventure off of this book.
Sure.
In addition to those, I would love to run a Dark Souls campaign.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it could be really, really cool. This is, possibly partly because of the Dark Souls board game that I have all the miniatures from.
We just like Dark Souls in general.
Definitely. And I was thinking because, I've heard people talk about making like a Dark Souls-ish D&D campaign.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's definitely a way it could work. Number one, you could just set it in, Lordran or whatever Dark Souls universe you want it to be set in. But I think that you think like death and respawning are kind of core to the Dark Souls experience.
Sure.
Although D&D doesn't naturally involve a death and respawn mechanic, I think it could.
Yeah, I don't see why it couldn't.
Yeah, and I mean,
like you can raise people from the dead.
Yeah.
People die and get raised all the time.
And if it's a part of the world, in this part of the world, people die and are reborn all the time, and there's advantages and disadvantages to it. I think that could be a really cool addition to something like D&D. I would be all for running the most deadly encounters ever.
Yeah,
if there was a respawn mechanic in place.
That's a good point, because there are plenty of like monsters and stuff like that like you want to use, but like you don't want to be a player killer or something like that. So that could be for a DM who doesn't necessarily want to kill their players every session. Having a campaign setting that brings you back to life every time you die. With some consequences, but like it's not going to end your game.
We've talked about in the past, the Tomb of Horrors, I think, is a terrible adventure, but...
Oh, right.
Because it was meant to be really deadly, and editions aren't really deadly anymore. But I ran for you guys in a 3.5 game where I ran you through the Tomb of Horrors, but you were woefully under-leveled on purpose. It was meant, quote-unquote, meant for like 10th level characters. You were like 3rd level characters.
I think so. And there was only like 2 of us.
There were 2 of you, yeah. And I put you guys in there under the express... assumption that when you die, you will immediately respawn at the beginning with all of the so there's no metagaming is not a thing in this.
Right.
Whatever knowledge you gained from your last run through, you still have.
Right.
So, but with the caveat that you have to say what you're doing. So you can't just be like, okay, we get back to where we died. No. You have to tell me, how did you open the first door?
Right.
How did you open the second door? Did you use a raking motion or whatever?
Sure.
And so I think that made for a very, very fun game.
Mm-hmm. And it wasn't that like when we got to certain milestones, when we came back, we got like an extra level or something like that.
Yeah, I think you guys got to like, if there was a halfway point for the Tomb of Horrors, you got to the halfway point, and then from that point on, you were 5th level instead of 3rd level.
Yeah, I think I had a halfling monk paladin or something like that.
And that's the thing, you could remake your characters whenever you wanted, because like, for example, eventually you guys got to monsters, and because it was meant for 10th level characters, the monsters were way too powerful for 3rd level characters to beat. So what I said was that any damage you do to a monster would persist.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember that now.
And then that led to both of you making characters that were just geared towards combat, so that you could, in the hopes of getting one hit off and then dying.
Right.
And then next time get one hit off again. And I think it turned out really fun.
No, yeah, we definitely had fun. And like, that's definitely not too different from what like a Dark Souls setting would be like.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely doable.
Yeah. So I think that could be a really, really cool way to do it. And I'll put them in the show notes. People have made 5th edition stats for like most of the Dark Souls bosses. Dark Souls enemies. So there's like Ornstein and Smo, and they even have like a special ability that occurs when one of them dies.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like stuff like that. People put D&D stats to things like that.
Yeah.
I haven't run very many adventures myself. In fact, I could probably say that I've only run maybe like 1 or 2.
Okay.
I've mostly just been a player, but
that's fine.
But I do remember for sure one of them I did base off of Final Fantasy VII.
Okay.
Because it was around the same time I was introduced to D&D. I was playing Final Fantasy VII.
Sure.
So late 90s, I think like 98, like 97 or 98. Because I think Final Fantasy VII came out in 97.
I think so. And I think you even mentioned in a previous episode you made like materia as magic items.
Yep, materia, and like and then going off of like player stuff, like I based a bunch of my characters up. Like I've made a character based off of Cloud Strife. I made a character based off of Link from Zelda, things like that. So like I might have even been trying to make. Yes, I was trying to make like all the Zelda Ocarina of Time dungeons.
Okay.
In D&D form at some point.
That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, it wouldn't be too bad.
I I think I might do that. Because I mean, if you ever just need a quick dungeon,
Yeah.
just use a map of one of those, and you've already got a dungeon. You've already got traps. You've already got keys and doors.
Yeah, puzzles and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a really cool idea.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you would definitely might need to tweak some of the things like this.
Well, yeah,
and like kind of tweak the scale of it too,
because PCs can jump.
Yes. Well, I mean, Link can jump. It's just only in very certain situations, like running off of a ledge or something. So like there's some jumping there, and like, but he can climb on lots of things.
That's true, especially in Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild, he can climb on almost anything, and like pretty much, you might as well just say he can climb on anything. There's only a very specific
the dungeons specifically. You cannot climb on the walls,
which I do like. I get that because you want the dungeon to be like a nice puzzle sort of thing.
Yeah,
but it's cool because like the dungeon walls are specifically made of a different material than you've seen anywhere else.
It is not arbitrary.
Right.
Anytime it is that material, you can't climb on.
Right. Yes. Like you do come across that material outside of the dungeons as well, and it's just you can't climb it.
Right.
So I was like, I thought that was pretty cool. Even though like the material itself looks very textured.
It really does.
It looks more climbable than some of the rocky climbs.
You can climb up a sheer wall, but whatever.
Yeah. So, and anyway, unless you're like recording your sessions and plan on monetizing them in some way, like I mean, there's nothing wrong with like stealing stuff like that. It's gonna be fun. Like you just really like Zelda or something like that, and you really want to play in Hyrule, more. So why not make your game based in that?
Yeah, I remember I think I was planning on eventually using Dark Souls stuff in my games a long time ago, but then I went and I introduced you and Steve to Dark Souls, so I feel like it would be a lot more obvious if I did that.
Oh, sure, you wanted to sneak it in there and have it be surprising. Whereas now it's like if you gave a hint of it, we'd be like, oh, I know what that is. Yeah.
Or even just using like Dark Souls names. I was originally, like a long time ago, I was thinking of in like my homebrew campaigns or my writing and stuff, I could use like Dark Souls. Because I think some of the Dark Souls names could make really cool town names. Sure. Like, oh, there's a town called Lautrec. Or there's a town called Ornstein or something. Yeah. But now it would be, because everybody I know, I only associate now with people who have played Dark Souls. Sure. So I think it would be a lot more obvious if I did so. Now, one more thing I do want to say about this is that if you are interested in seeing movie plots made into role-playing games, there is a podcast that does exactly that. Yeah. It is called The Film Reroll. I've put it in the show notes. I'll put it in the show notes again. It is a podcast where the group plays through. They play in the GURPS role-playing system, the generic universal role-playing system. Right. It's a very, very good system. If I wasn't so attached to D&D, I might be tempted to use GURPS for stuff myself. But every episode is they choose a different movie and they go through that movie in RPG form. So they've gone through like Speed. They've gone through Frozen. They've gone through Jumanji, I think I mentioned in a previous episode. They are currently going through E.T., and it often goes way off the rails. Sure. In the E.T. one, they've done 2 episodes of it. They're about to do their 3rd one. In the first episode of it, the players were not very cautious and got the government much, much closer on their tail than the characters in the movie did. Number 2, after like the halfway point of the 2nd episode, the movie is no longer following the kids. It's following E.T. and the government, because now the government has E.T. But apparently if you watch particularly the ending of E.T., you realize the government, they're not the bad guys. And so at this point in the film reroll, it is now the government working with E.T. to do whatever it is E.T. does in the sequels or whatever. Because apparently there are sequels to E.T. in like book form. Really? Oh, and they're really, really weird.
There's also a video game.
Yes. Yes, there is. But so the guy who DMs most of these, Paolo, he does so much research. He like reads the books, he reads the scripts. So he is always ready when the players go off the rails. They did Labyrinth for one of the episodes. Oh, sure. And it was just him and one player. And there's a point in Labyrinth where like the main character can choose to go like left or right or something. And I think like in the movie, she goes to the right. The player went to the left. Sure. And he was ready. He had an entire session's worth of stuff planned for just that exact occasion. Huh. So he's a very good DM, and he is always he always plans out what's going to happen using as much stuff from the source material as possible. So it's so cool. So yeah, I very, very much highly recommend the film reroll. So I think that will do it for today.
Okay.
If anybody wants to submit items or questions, please email us at interpartyconflict@gmail.com. For show notes, a running list of questions asked, or important links, or if you want to download the episode, go to interpartyconflict.blogspot.com, where there's a link to our SoundCloud page, which is soundcloud.com/interpartyconflict. Find us on Facebook. Please like us. Our Facebook page is facebook.com/interpartyconflict, or you can go to our subreddit at reddit.com/r/interpartyconflict, where I like to post weekly discussion questions, which I actually think I'll be posting to our Facebook group as well.
Oh, sure.
We're also on Twitter at InPartyConflict. We're on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, YouTube, everywhere you get podcasts. Please rate, review, and subscribe. We really, really appreciate it. And our music is made by Boxcat Games from Nameless the Hacker's RPG. So, Jeff, till next time.
Stay away from the outer planes.
There you go.